what has led us to be in this situation is like part of it is as like the pivot from being a launchpad. Like as you said, there is a lot of interaction with other projects and other people in the scene. So it kind of what that kind of developed, and just because due to the nature of how kind of Scroll sets you up for success. Because Scroll really, I mean, they have their Canvas project and the way that kind of works as a map. They really want to foster a community in which everybody works together. So you kind of had just the connections and the people that we worked through. And in my case, because I'm leading these like AMAs and these roundtable discussions with similar faces in similar places. And it's just like you have these ideas that are bouncing off each other and you're constantly wanting to improve people in your ecosystem's project as well as your own.
Hello, my dear Scale Watchers. Welcome to the first episode of the ScaleWatching Podcast, where we are going to host promising projects and personalities from the ever-growing scaling landscape. And in this very first session, I have the pleasure to talk to Mike from Pencils, which is a sophisticated DeFi platform for yields and much more, and which is also, like Pencils, is also the DeFi platform which is leading the DVL, the total value locked matrix on the Scroll L2. So I'm very excited at this episode. And without much further ado, let's welcome Mike. Hello, Mike. Welcome to the ScaleWatching Podcast. And thanks a lot for being the first guest of the series.
Thank you. I have so much pressure on my shoulders to set like an unreachable bar. So I hope I deliver.
Absolutely. You'll do great, I'm sure. So, Mike, let's start this ScaleWatching episode with some words on your background. How did you begin with your crypto journey, and what brought you to working at the Pencils Pod protocol?
Yeah, so I guess that's kind of an interesting / crazy story. So initially, my intro to just Web3 in general comes from something called NounsDAO, and in particular, which is I don't know if I can say this anymore, but I think they're the largest DAO on Ethereum. But I came from the perspective of one of their projects that was funded, which was Nouns Esports. I kind of worked on the managing team. So really, realistically, my crypto background in that aspect was just being in the community there. But most of my day-to-day operations were just like, I don't know, I would describe it as accounting and just managing a team, right? So not that Web3 involved, but just by like the nature of being in a DAO and participating in, a Web3 community, I kind of was just introduced to more and more Web3 just people and just the community. And my introduction to Pencils was at ETH Denver this year, which was a great event. That was the first kind of like convention that I went to. And to me, I mean, I've gone to Token this year as well after that, but I really, 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 really liked ETH Denver. I feel like the community there and just what they build each year, it kind of can't be replicated. It's like wild and crazy. Like I feel a lot of like Web3 conventions, they're much like anything in traditional finance. A lot of suits and ties, a lot of networking, a lot of champagne and small plates, but ETH Denver was special. And I was introduced to some people on Pencils, or at that point they were called PenPad. Well, I mean, I've looked through the script, I've seen the future. I guess I'll address that a bit later. But yeah, so they were looking for someone to kind of be external relations or like a PR person, and I had a background in both. I made educational content for both the esports team, which was something I did later. But before that, I worked for Pearson, which is a textbook company. I actually did online calculus assistance, and I would walk people through this like online portal for like Calc 2 and Calc 3, which was interesting. So they needed someone who had a background in kind of like public speaking and explaining well and just being like an outward personality. So like I would just say that my job is kind of to be a grand communicator in a field that sometimes lacking of human faces. So I'm a human face to PenPad, my background definitely is not as technologically keen as other people in my position, or not even in my position, or just in this field, because I feel like there's a lot of people that know just crypto and they know Web3, but they can't communicate it well to a general audience. And that's probably the most difficult part about just onboarding and fostering a community and just keeping it going. So yeah, that's my background.
And that's a great background, and you made a lot of interesting points as well. And it's nice to know that although you're relatively new to the space, you've managed to make so many contacts and learning experiences throughout these years. And I'm glad that you landed at Pencils. And I would like to know, obviously, you joined the team when the project already kicked off. But I would like to know from you, which is the vision that drives the Pencils team, and which are their goals as a DeFi platform? What's your vision of DeFi at Pencils?
Yeah, so I would say I already joined when the project was pushing. I guess the technological side of it was already existing, was already happening. But in terms of like what was outwardly presentable to the general public, I joined on it was campaign season 1. So the first second there was something to communicate outwardly, that's when they were like, okay, we need to have someone here to do it, instead of just having like I think they were having Eugene, who's one of our business developers, do it, and Eugene was like, I can't do this. But I mean, Eugene's great, but maybe public communication was a little too scary for him, but I filled in that role. In terms of vision, so we actually started off, before we were Pencils Protocol, as something called PenPad, and we had a pivot to DeFi. So initially we were existing, and our goal was to be purely just like a token launchpad on Scroll. But there were always like aspirations, specifically with like how well we started doing from the get-go. Like the growth, I mean, it's not exponential, but every day you would check in and you're like, oh, that's more than we expected. Oh, that's more than we expected. And you kind of just reach a point where, you have these aspirations to go from just being a token launchpad to just being like an all-encompassing DeFi solution on Scroll. So for us, that moment kind of hit in April, May. And you kind of could tell, because we had really defined like campaign seasons. They were supposed to be a month, a month, a month, a month. If you look at season two lasted a lot longer, and there was a lot of hiccups in season 2, because there was a bit of a mistake with how we communicated our pencil points or pen pad points at that point, which was something we had to like overcome and just learn from. That was like our first outward public mistake, which was, I mean, you don't want to make mistakes, but you do want to learn from them, and I think we did learn from it in the correct way. But in that April, May just period, there was a lot of what can we do, and we decided that like with our TVL and our progress, that we wanted to really dive into staking, into liquidity vaults. And I mean, it's August, and the staking is there. Liquidity vaults is something that we are hoping for, and there's some other things that we have on our horizon. But yeah, that's kind of where the DeFi vision, or the DeFi, I guess, pivot. It wasn't really a pivot. The idea was always there. We just weren't sure how to reach it, or how we would, like, how would that manifest. So when the opportunity presented itself, it's just like, okay, well, we're going to take some time. It's going to be a little clunky. We're going to be maybe a bit quieter than we want for a bit, but we will work through it. And we did.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, you must catch the opportunity when it comes, right?
Yeah.
And I also get that, being a launchpad at first, I think it is one of the primitives that has the most hurdles when it comes to regulations as well, because you tie yourself to other projects as well, to their token issuances. So there are a lot of regulatory things to observe and to respect. Because I heard, I had a previous experience with a project on Stacknet, which was a launchpad, and they also pivoted to something else due mostly to regulatory difficulties, right? Which makes running a launchpad very, very painful. And I don't know if it was also your case or it played a role in that area as well. But anyway, I'm glad that the projects also switched to to a more independent field where you can be the owner of your own destiny, let's say, and you can offer interesting products to your customers, also in collaborations with with liquid restaking platforms and so on. And before we have a demo of the dApp, I wanted to know if you could give us a time lapse summary on the first milestones that that Pencils reached during the first months as a DeFi platform. So we'll skip the launchpad part there, and also you managed to become like the most successful landing DeFi protocol leading DeFi protocol on Scroll in terms of total value locked, as it is hovering around 280 millions in total value lock, if I remember well. And so I wanted to know, what's the recipe for these impressive numbers?
Yeah. So yeah, the number that's like 250, 280 that's being thrown around, and like our jump from like 100 to 250, 280, don't quote me, I think it was within a month, which to me is just like, when you said like you cut out the launchpad part, like, oh, it's like, oh, you're cutting out like most of our existence, right? It's only the exponential just jump kind of existed in such a short time frame. I think kind of like what has led us to be in this situation is like, part of it is as like the pivot from being a launchpad. Like, as you said, there is a lot of interaction with other projects and other people in the scene. So it kind of what that kind of developed, and just because due to the nature of how kind of Scroll sets you up for success, because Scroll really, I mean, they have their Canvas project and the way that kind of works as a map. They really want to foster a community in which everybody works together. So you kind of had just the connections and the people that we work through. And in my case, because I'm leading these like AMAs and these roundtable discussions with similar faces in similar places, and it's just like you have these ideas that are bouncing off each other, and you're constantly wanting to improve people in your ecosystem's project as well as your own. We kind of had we had a launch pad for ourselves. So once we hit this, now we can go. Like everything was set up for success. But in terms of like getting to this point, or kind of like making sure that everything kind of maintains itself to this point, a lot of it has to do with community building, and that's just the hardest part of crypto, of Web3, is just making sure that you have created enough passageways of communication with people who care about your project. You are very open and about everything when it comes to just security and what your plans and what your ideas are, or what you're going to be doing. So whether it's like the team that we have just managing our socials, such as like our Twitter, our Telegram, our Discord, like that has been great. Like I've done everything from, I've had huge AMAs with people like Sandy from Scroll, who every time I get in a call with Sandy, like my heart's like, oh my God, don't mess up, don't mess up, don't mess up, right? Or I can go and like 2 days later, I'm going to be in a Telegram call with people in our community, right? And honestly, it's a lot less stressful to do it with people in our community, and we try to field as many questions as we have, and with Priya working the Telegram. And it's like, I mean, having that dichotomy of, at the same time you're working with people that are massive in your field, in your industry, and at the same time, like, yes, at any point, any Tuesday, any Thursday, or whatever the day is, you can come and join a Telegram call, and like your questions will be answered, and then there's a team actively helping go through any problems you may have or any concerns you may have. Like, you have to have both in order to make sure that you assure both people on like a macro scale, long term, what your ideas are, and a micro scale of people that just have issues and like short term concerns. So I think that's what just the entire team at Pencils has done insanely well. It's just to reassure all levels and stages. So I think if there's anything that should be replicated by other projects or just like going forward, it's that. I think that really is the secret ingredient.
For sure, yeah. I also noticed, giving a look at your Discord and Telegram channel. I see that you structured these channels in a very good way, and I see the community that is very engaged and like very active, and that's always a sign of health. Obviously, we need to to also understand that obviously many of these users or people could also be kind of very active in order to farm the scroll, the much awaited scroll airdrop.
Of course, yeah.
That's normal, but in the end, even after the airdrop, most of the community has the chance to still play central role in the single protocols and also in the corresponding L2. Maybe later on in the last question, we'll also face this kind of question of how pencils will approach the after scroll airdrop era. It must be interesting. But right now, I think that's, Mike, would you mind taking us for a small tour throughout the pencils page and show us what we can do there, please?
Yeah. So let's do a little rundown on our website, because it is very beautiful, very green, purple, and black, lovely colors. First and foremost, I guess I wouldn't be public relations or external relations if I didn't do some shilling, but touched on it very shortly. Our Soul NFT is something that we've just launched, and we would love people to check it out. I haven't been home. I haven't connected my wallet. Probably shouldn't do that. But if you were to go here on our tab, let's start with this. Everything is very seamlessly constructed so that you can easily claim this NFT. You connect your wallet, you go to your profile, and you connect your social medias, which I think in this case would ask for a Twitter and a Google account, and you just hit claim NFT. You just need the gas in order to make sure it happens. It's not that much, but it's very, very, very simple. The campaign period is from now until the end of August, so I would really, really, really incentivize and kind of just tell people that this is something that you should take part of. In terms of things from the very beginning, we kind of have our base page, which gives a rundown on what we are hoping to accomplish and what we are currently accomplishing. So everything's really easily, written out for everyone to see. This is a page very often I will just turn to, and if I have to start an AMA and people ask me what is Pencils Protocol, I will read this beyond launch paragraph almost every single AMA. You can probably notice if you go through our Twitter spaces, and you will see me saying the phrase, a one-stop hub for all DeFi solutions on Scroll is probably my catchphrase. So on the subject of one-stop, if we were to connect our wallet, and probably not going to do that, but you would see all these assets. You would see the rewards that you're able to accomplish. It's broken down if you want to segment it, but you are able to deposit. You're able to understand how many pencils you receive from it, your balance, and all the rewards that you receive just by staking it. It's very, very upfront. It's very, very clear, and it makes things super, super, super simple. It also has
Mike,
things that...
Before moving to the next section, to the vaults, I wanted to know, having a look at your at the markets that you support at Pencils, I noticed that you have a lot of diversity, and I was wondering, how is it like to implement different restaking protocols on Pencils, and how do you manage the rewards flow between Pencils points, restaking points, and scroll marks?
Yeah, so from every single time we have a new asset that is added, this is a very, very, very long conversation between our team, their team, and Scroll to make sure that there is a way for everyone to just kind of have all these things present in a single location. But in the case, I am a kelp mile eigenlayer wrap staked ETH enthusiast. I've connected my OKX wallet and all of those rewards. Once I connect my wallet to both Pencils Protocol, and if I were to go to the KelpDAO website, I would be able to see my pencils on Pencils Protocol, and I will be able to see my kelp miles on the KelpDAO website. Everything is segmented by each individual website, but everything is very upfront, and you see your rewards instantaneously upon connecting and staking. So it's handled both individually, and once you connect the same wallet to both different websites, you will see everything appear. So very, cool. very, 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 very straightforward in that aspect. In terms of things for the future, coming soon, vaults. This is something that we've been working on. We've definitely poured a lot of our efforts into farming/staking. There is a lot of assets here, and vaults is something that I can say shortly. But it was a goal that we had in May, and it's a goal that we will have to make sure that it works properly and super well for the future. Another thing is the shop that we have going forward. Also a work in progress. We talked about and touched upon Soul a little bit earlier. And in terms of seasons, we've talked about the seasons before, but this is kind of our idea for what we have our campaign or what we want people to do. I touched on OKX wallet. I talked on just the beginnings of Pencils to Scroll and Trust Wallet. And yeah, this is our walkthrough of what you were able to get as rewards. And kind of if you click through it and if you dive really deep and go through our Medium articles and the Twitter posts that are linked to it, you will understand what we want to do and what people will be doing and what people will be receiving. So, I mean, I really like our website. It's gone really far. I remember the early stages and when it was PenPad and it was just PenPad and it just said PenPad launch and then shop. And it was only 3 tabs and then it was just the connect tab and we had this interesting leaderboard system. So I love the changes that we've managed to have, and front and center. I don't want to brag. I don't want to boast, but it feels like we are heading in the right direction.
Yeah, it does. Absolutely does. Okay. So, Mike, thanks a lot for guiding us through, the Pencils platform. It's been a very learning experience. We learned a lot, and I personally obviously played with the protocol already, and I found its UX very, very clean. And hopefully, our viewers will have a good time by dealing and playing with the all markets that are available on Pencils. But right now, I would like to switch towards the community side of things. And as you were saying, the Pencils community is very active, and you also care a lot about structuring the all initiatives for the community. And I wanted to know what kind of initiatives have you carried out so far in order to help users engaged. And I also saw that you also follow a nice storytelling team in the form of a treasure hunt. And could you tell us more about the campaign and also the recent Soul NFT drop?
Yep. So the way that we've kind of tackled initiatives, because I feel like this is something that's kind of difficult / clunky in a lot of projects. One of the platforms we use is Galaxy, and just the way that we've structured it is that we've had these seasons, and I always used to tell people, specifically when I did the smaller community calls, it's like if you look at how the seasons are set up, it is what we are aspiring to have our community do. Like, we want to guide you to where we think you should be at this current time. So, for example, season 1, all the way back when, was just like onboarding, like making sure you have a wallet that's connected and like connecting your socials and just setting it up, and you'd be rewarded for it, right? Season 2 was like onboarding your friends, like receiving bonuses for doing that. Season 3 was more about like introducing, that was the introduction of staking, right? So we had this really distinct and defined goals that we wanted everyone to reach at a specific period of time. So that was, for me personally, who I also say I believe that like my crypto journey was progressing. And I definitely was not that much of a novice at that point, but having this kind of like guideline to go off of was really like reassuring, specifically for people who might be newer in the scene or in the business. So that was great. But the way we kind of looked at initiatives, and if you just kind of go through, for example, our Twitter is probably the best place to do it. We have a lot of projects or a lot of initiatives that kind of like tie in other projects, right? So remember, one of our earlier ones was OKX wallet, right? So you can receive a bonus just by signing up and through an OKX wallet instead of just going through whatever other platforms are available. So we constantly are trying to tie in people from other communities. And it's kind of like we're all in this together, right? We're piggybacking off of OKX. OKX is piggybacking off of us. And together, hopefully, we grow side by side. So that's kind of our main idea of how we want to use our initiatives. It's more, to increase the base of people that are using it. We did have a storytelling theme, which was cute. We had this treasure hunt. We had, kind of were an adventurer. You had I think it was warrior. I forgot the exact phrasing. It was a debate of warrior guilds. It was really like World of Warcrafty. We're like, is this maybe too much? We're like, no, it's cute. People will like it. So yeah, the structuring of how we use them as like as a learning platform, I think that was another thing I would add to kind of really bolstered our position and put us in a spot that where we are right now.
Yeah, absolutely, because it guides the user step by step, right? Inside the platform. It is. I think it is a must for DeFi platforms if they want to also onboard people who have no experience with DeFi at all. And so that's definitely a good idea and a good practice to do. And well, as we transition towards the end of our first scale watching episode, I wanted to know, like, could you tell us some hints at the future, like about the upcoming months at Pencils? What can we expect in the future months? And also, as we were saying, what kind of approach are you going to have for the after token age of Scroll?
Yeah, so our TGE event is coming, our token generation events. That's the thing that we have everyone to look forward to. They always are very limited in what they allow me to say until the last minute because
sure, no worries.
I have a big mouth and I like to talk, so sometimes I'll say too much and I don't want to get anyone's expectations way too high.
No.
But in terms of we had actually a good AMA about this with a couple other projects about like incentive structure going forward. I think one of the things that I absolutely despise, and this not really applies to us, but hopefully it doesn't apply to us. I can't predict the future, but the treasure hunt thing is something I like and I also don't like at the same time. So the treasure hunt thematic that we use is great, but I hope it's not foreshadowing, because one of the things I really dislike when it comes to incentive or kind of initiative projects or programs is when you start doing the scavenger hunt of I need this, and this in order to receive this bonus. And you have to go through this checklist of I need 6 NFTs in order to activate or to have this occur. And it becomes like this unreasonably high bar for new people to enter the community. And I really think that initiatives really should, yes, they do reward people who have been there for a while, but they should also apply to people who are just joining. You should want people to have, like a cell phone provider will give you a nice deal at the start of the contract. Like that's just simple business, right? So kind of balancing that and creating a structure that doesn't, alienate people that have been there for too long or alienate people that are just starting is kind of the mindset that we're going for. I can't say the future. I can't predict the future.
No
they
worries.
don't tell the cool things until like a week before the AMA or before the talk. You're like, okay, Mike, it's time. I have this really cool thing to tell you. I'm like, okay, guys, how long has this been brewing? They're like, a month, but you're ready now. I'm like, okay. So I can say everything. They're like, no, you can't say this, and this. I'm like, all right, I'll cross it out. I'll pretend like it doesn't exist. So yeah, I think given our trajectory and how it's been like the last 2 months and how we're aiming, I can only expect the best. So, I mean, yeah.
I also saw that you rebranded the token. Token time, right?
Yeah, the brand new news. That's
okay.
That one I knew about, but I was like, they're like, don't accidentally say it, because this is one of the first AMAs I did. I dropped. We were still PenPad at the time, and I accidentally referred to it as Pencils Protocol. And then I look at the Twitter comments in the space. They're like, "What did he just say?" And I'm like,
"What is Pencils?" Yeah.
They're like, you could. I guess a good thing that like there's no webcam on a Twitter space, because it was like an immediate like, oh my god, I can't believe I just said that. It's like, I can't believe I just let that slip. Sure. Like nobody even noticed because I just said it so quickly. But yeah, that's that was a funny moment.
Very funny, yeah. And thanks a lot for also giving us some information about the pencils token, which is gonna be called DAP, if I remember
Yep.
well, right?
Yep.
Okay, very cool. And but I was also like when I said the scroll after age, after age, I was meaning to like how are you going to deal with the fact that sooner or later some kind of users, airdrop hunters like we live maybe many of them or some of them hopefully not so many will leave the scroll ecosystem in order to look for the next airdrop, right?
Yeah.
And how are you I'm sure that you're already working at some kind of measures in order to keep your users on your platform, to keep their liquidity, to help them grow inside your own ecosystem. And
Yep.
I don't know if you could answer this question.
Yeah. So I can't give like a from that perspective. It's like yeah, this applies to like
Difficult.
any. It's very difficult to answer, right? And this applies to like a lot of industries. Like if I am leasing a car, right, and someone has an opportunity to get possibly a new car, like would they possibly take the gamble on it? Yeah, there are going to be people that think, oh, the car is newer, it has to be better. But that might not be the case, right? The only way you can kind of ensure that people stay is that you communicate to them that you believe that you have the best product or the best vision for the future, and hopefully you convince them with just like what you've accomplished and what you hope to accomplish. So it's like we you have to prove to them by doing. So we will be the best version of ourselves, and hopefully that is enough for enough people to think like, yeah, this is something I want to stay with. But as with everything, and you said it perfectly, people will leave to the next airdrop. People will leave, and that
Yeah,
is just the
I
nature.
think
Yeah,
it depends. It also depends on different factors. So it's about also how much liquidity the user has.
of course.
The how much experience the user has. Because many people, I mean, if they can afford it, many user would also leave a part of
Sure.
their
Yeah.
stack there. Maybe they would just withdraw some of it, and but they would leave a kind of base right there, right?
Yeah.
So it also depends on many factors. Also, obviously,
Yeah.
we nowadays we need to deal with industrial airdrop farmers, but there's not much we can do about that. But yeah, I think as long as you work very well on the protocol and you keep it also safe in terms of security audits. I saw that you're
Yep.
also
Our audit
performing
is
a
public.
security audit as well.
Yep, it's
Exactly, yeah,
public. You can click on it. You can see it. We're very upfront about things like that. But yeah, I mean,
very well.
people, you're allowed to diversify your assets, right? I'm not going to be the one saying like us or die,
Yeah, sure.
but yeah,
Absolutely.
it's just the
Yeah,
nature of a free system.
absolutely. Yeah, it's also about like diversity, right? I mean, a
Yep,
multi-chain world, a multi-layer world,
of
where
course.
users have assets scattered all over the place, which is sometimes can be considered as bad, but on the other hand, is also good because it's also a kind of diversification of the risk. If you think about that, because you don't
Yeah,
have everything in one place. But yeah, thanks a lot also for giving us some information about your upcoming steps. I'm sure you will be doing great things, and really looking forward to seeing, the next months at Pencils, how you will approach the first weeks and months after the generation of your token, and also after the generation of the Scroll ecosystem token. As far as understood, your token will be coming out first. But obviously, I don't want you to confirm me that or not. But this is my feeling. Maybe I'm wrong. But yeah. So thanks a lot, Mike, for coming to the Scale Watching podcast and for being the first guest of this season. I had a great time. I hope you did as well, and I'm sure that our viewers learned a lot about pencils and about how to make the most out of your protocol. And obviously, the content of this episode was not financial advice. And yeah, so once again, thanks a lot, Mike. Thanks a lot, dear Scale Watchers. See you the next time. Bye bye. Take care, Mike.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Bye bye.